Peace. Gotta make sure we live. Looks like we live. Let me know if you can hear me. Peace, family. Let me know if you can hear me. Walaikum salam, family. We get more people in. I'll begin this video. Just let me know if y'all can hear me. I want to make sure my microphone is up. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, cool. All praises due to Allah. I would like for y'all to do me a favor, share this video. We want to get this message out. This is about to be a cool little lecture. Your brother put together a PowerPoint presentation today. And at this point, you know, we gotta bring the receipts, because just like as I stated in my post, that I don't really care about how y'all feel about the great Mahdi who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. And I know for a surety that he is who he is. So share this video, family, because we about to present some powerful information, some information that your brother has been wanting to present, but never really had a chance to put it together. Information that your brother just been sitting on and really didn't have a chance to actually put a presentation together. So I had the day off, so we about to go live. So just share this on your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube channel, because we want to get more people in this conversation, in on this topic, especially our original family, those who are the descendants of the Indians, you know, our Mexican brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters from Honduras, all our brothers and sisters from South America, you know, and to get them more familiar with some of the prophecies, okay? And I'll give you kind of the reason why I put this particular presentation together. You know, me being a black man in the Nation of Islam, I personally was introduced to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad by a Mexican brother by the name of Juan Muhammad. And this brother was the first person to ever tell me that I was a god. And in fact, he told me when I first met the brother that the black man was God. Walaikum salam to you, Brother Brandon, Brother Josh Mason, Sister Annette, Brother Ryan, Brother Ghani, right? So he was the first person to tell me that the black man is God, which shook my whole foundation. Because at that time I was studying world religions. You know, I was studying the Hindu religion specifically, because there was a book written by a brother by the name of Paramahansa Yogananda, and he wrote the book titled The Autobiography of a Yogi. So he was teaching self-realization, and in subtle ways, he was teaching that man is God, and he was teaching Christ consciousness. And he was teaching Christ, he was teaching about Jesus in ways that I personally had never heard at that time. So I asked for a guru, and the Self-Realization Fellowship wrote me back, told me that they couldn't provide me a guru. But I remember Paramahansa Yogananda specifically saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? So I guess I was ready because Brother Juan Muhammad showed up and he began teaching me about self, and he was giving me the knowledge of self. So just as Paramahansa Yogananda was teaching self-realization, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad was also teaching knowledge of self, which is the same thing. They're just saying it differently. So I first like to give a shout out to Brother Juan Muhammad, and also like to give a shout out to all of my original family, who are the descendants of the original family, the brothers and sisters who came over here 16,000 years ago, according to the supreme wisdom. Okay? And so your brother was doing some research just recently on the Muslim Shriners, right? Because I did previous videos stating that Mother Tainetta Muhammad was told to her by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that Master Fard Muhammad had met with Herbert Hoover, who was a president, right, from 1929 to 1932. So I wanted to do a little bit more research on the subject of, the Muslim Shriners, and I was looking up some stuff to see if Master Fard Muhammad was ever among those people, and because the minister teaches us that he infiltrated certain white groups, right? So I was personally doing research to see if this was one of the groups that Master Fard Muhammad had infiltrated, because we know that J. Edgar Hoover, was a Muslim Shriner. And he said in the FBI files, according to him, that they must prevent the rise of a Messiah, of a black Messiah. So we have the understanding that there are many of these people who are a part of these groups, right? Who secretly learn the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the identity of who we are and the identity of the Savior figure, or the Christ, the Mahdi, the Savior, the awaited Messiah who's supposed to come back. That's why they're joining these secret organizations in order to figure out the identity of the grand architect or the great architect. This is the language they use, basically saying God or Allah in the person. So these people who are part of these secret societies are waiting for God or Allah to come in the person of a man. They just use the language, the grand architect or the great architect. Walaikum salam, brother Brooklyn's on, or sister, brother or sister, I'm not sure which one you are, right? So that's the language they use, right? So I noticed, because you have masonry, then you have appendant bodies, like the Order of the Eastern Stars is a appendant body. So the Muslim Shriners, those who study the Holy Quran, right, and wear the fezzes with Arabic names on them, they are what you consider a appendant body. This is an honorary degree, right? And the only way for you to become a part of this specific group is you have to be a master mason, right? You have to be at the 33rd degree of masonry. And you can't, like the other degrees, you have to pay to get those degrees and be in these specific groups. But the Muslim Shriners, you can't pay to be a part of them. You have to be selected to be a part of this group, right? And many of them are a part of this group for nefarious reasons, because they want to know the exact truth of everything that is taking place. Why? Because again, because if the grand architect or Imam Mahdi or Jesus or any of these figures who are prophesied to come back and they are not with them, they're trying to suppress information. They're trying to suppress the identity of who these people are, right? So upon my research, I learned that of a group called the Order of Quetzalcoatl. Okay? The Order of Quetzalcoatl, right? So that inspired this video. So I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint for you all. Just give me a second when we about to get busy. Let me share my screen. We about to get busy. Boom. All right, let's go. Okay, this is my PowerPoint, family. So this is called Farrakhan's Vision, the Order of Quetzalcoatl, the Christ figure is Master Fard Muhammad by your brother Malcolm Flex TV. Okay? By your brother Malcolm Flex TV. Okay? So I'm going to give you definitions and stuff like that so you all know what's going on. First, let me see who is Quetzalcoatl. Okay. First, I'm going to read the minister's vision. First, I'm going to read the minister's vision. So you can go and find this video. I'm not playing videos in this particular PowerPoint presentation. So you can go and find the minister's vision that he had October 24th, 1989 in Washington, D.C., right? And Farrakhan's vision on the wheel. Minister Farrakhan stated in his announcement October 24th, 1989 to the American government, and he stated, I quote, in a tiny town in Mexico called Tepoztlan, there is a mountain on top of which is the ruins of a temple dedicated to Quetzalcoatl, the Christ figure of Central and South America. A mountain of which I have climbed several times. However, on the night of September the 17th, 1985, I was carried up on that mountain in a vision with a few friends of mine. As we reached the top of the mountain, a wheel, or what you call an unidentified flying object, appeared at the side of the mountain, and I was called from the wheel to come up into the wheel. Okay, so it's something about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's vision just so happened to be on a mountain dedicated with a temple dedicated to the Christ figure Quetzalcoatl. Right? Sorry about that. Dedicated to the Christ figure Quetzalcoatl. Okay, now the question is, who is Quetzalcoatl? All right. Quetzalcoatl is a deity in Mesoamerican culture and literature whose name comes from the Nahuatl language and means feathered serpent, or Quetzalcoatl or Quetzal feathered serpent. The earliest known documentation of the worship of a feathered serpent occurs in Teotihuacan in the 1st century BC or 1st century AD. That period lies within the late pre-classic to early classic period, 400 BC through 600 AD of Mesoamerican chronology. Veneration of the figure appears to have spread throughout Quetzalcoatl, Mesoamerica by the late classic period, 600 to 900 AD. In the post-classic period, 900 through 1519 AD, that's crucial that they put 1519 AD in there, and I'll explain why. The worship of the feathered serpent deity centered in the primary Mexican religious center of Cholula. In this period, the deity is known to have been named Quetzalcoatl by his Nahua followers in the Maya area. He was approximately equivalent to Kulkulkan and Gokumatz, names that also roughly translate as feathered serpent in different Mayan languages. Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec god of wind, air, and learning, right? So the one reason why I say that the year 1519 was crucial is because in 1519, Hernan Cortez, right, conquistador, a Spaniard, right, he came among the Aztec people and he was able to infiltrate them because he was able to trick them into believing that he was the coming of the great Quetzalcoatl, right? And I get into explaining more in depth, but I'm giving y'all the significance of why that year was important. This is written by Ray Dickinson, excuse me. The feathered serpent of Mesoamerica lore, Quetzalcoatl was a god of heaven and earth, light and darkness. Now it says Quetzalcoatl was a god of heaven and earth. Okay, so this is a figure who is connected to heaven and earth, right? I'm leading to something. It says light and darkness, life and death and rebirth. The contradictory nature of the feathered serpent symbolized the dual nature of Quetzalcoatl as both earth and sky god. I'm going to repeat that. The contradictory nature of the feathered serpent symbolized the dual nature of Quetzalcoatl as both earth and sky god. Quetzal meant bird and Coatl meant snake. So this snake bird deity represented the link between sky and earth, between humanity and the stars. Okay, that's important. Important context when you understand the things that Master Fard Muhammad taught the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because wasn't nobody teaching about the presence of UFOs or unidentified flying objects, or we call them the wheels and the planes, the mother plane, before the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? So this is a God who is connected to the earthly realm and the heavenly realm, right? Let me continue. It appeared the Mesoamericans recognized this link when they observed a particular star, the planet Venus. In the Aztec myth of the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl died just as Venus appeared as the evening star, and he cremated himself in the funeral pyre, just as the evening star disappeared below the western horizon in the fire of the setting sun. Then Quetzalcoatl, as Venus, returned to life. Okay, let me continue. Okay, so now the the order of Quetzalcoatl, this secret society that was created from the Muslim shriners, right, in Mexico, because they have several temples of the order of Quetzalcoatl. They're referred to as the Q, right? And they have several temples over in Mexico, and they are waiting on this Christ-like figure to return, right? And they believe that this is a man. They don't believe that this is a spook. They don't believe that this is a being without a physical form. They believe that this is a man who will be born, right? And in their initiation ceremony, right? Because they have rituals. I have the ritual on in my email, and I'm not going to go through the whole ritual, but there's certain things that stood out to me in the ritual and the initiation ceremony and the closing ceremony, right? It says Camaxtly. This is what he said. "'Tis in truth, our newly born son, the morning star," right? They said our newly born son, a son or a man was to be born. "He whom we have named Quetzalcoatl. Welcome to our abode, and may thy presence from now on add glory to our destiny and bring peace and contentment to all lowly creatures of the earth. It shall be my pleasure to present to thee my fellow companions who assist me in duties in the government of the heavens. Go first to Humac, who from his place in Tepetl, the north, has the direct care and guidance of all material things. 'Tis he that can impart to you his knowledge in cunning in the arts, crafts, and skill, that shall bring prosperity, wealth, and honor to all those who employ them wisely, as well as unhappiness and destruction to those who put this knowledge to an evil use. Take heed, my son, thou whom I have named Quetzalcoatl, who possesses the wisdom of the serpent and the beauty of the plumed Quetzal bird," right? Just as the saying in the Bible says, "Be wise as a serpent, peaceful as a dove. In thy person will henceforth be found a true," it says in thy person, not in thy spook or in thy spirit or in thy ghost. It says in thy person will henceforth be found a true balance of the sublime and the lowly, meaning that he will be connected to the divine and he will be connected to the material, right? It says earth's most humble creature, which represents all that is material, can now soar to unknown heights by the use of the spiritual wings with which thou hast been endowed. Spirit and matter, beauty and ugliness, all blended harmoniously, remain with Humac, O my son, until thou hast received full instruction from him and return to me when thou art ready. So this is a Masonic ritual that I'm reading, right? And this is their prophecy, because what I'm reading is their prophecy. It was prophetic that Quetzalcoatl would be born, and I'm gonna give descriptions of them. In the closing ceremony, this is what it states. You shall also endeavor to nullify the mission of your brother, Quetzalcoatl, employing every means in your power to destroy him. So we know that the enemy had spent time, money, and energy in destroying Master Fard Muhammad's work, right? So it says, you shall, with the aid of your henchmen and sorcerers, finally force him to depart from earth and return to his abode with us, right? Because Master Fard Muhammad, right, left, right? They tried to force him out of Detroit 2 times, right? And after that, he was never, ever to be seen again, right? And I've read in the FBI files, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told the FBI that he went back to Mecca, but hey, it could be more to that though. He could be on the mothership right now, right? But I'm reading this because it's so close to what we teach, right? It says, you shall, with the aid of your henchmen and sorcerers, finally force him to depart from earth and return to his abode with us, but not before he has brought great knowledge to his tribe, teaching them the worship of love and kindness. So this man would bring a great knowledge to his people, right? It says, as a reward for his labors, he shall hold a place of honor in our celestial abode, occupying both the position in the east and the west. Right? It said he will occupy both the position in the east and in the west. Right? And we know for sure that the Nation of Islam is that position in the west, right? Being known to men as the morning and evening star, right? And who else is referred to as the morning star? According to Christian theologians, Jesus Christ is also referred to as the morning star, right? It says, on the other hand, you shall receive for punishment a return to oblivion by gradual shrinkage until your face resembles that of a sickly rabbit. Be gone. Right? Now, this is in the closing ceremony of a Masonic ritual of the Order of Quetzalcoatl. Right? The Order of Quetzalcoatl. Right? Okay. Now, this is out of the Final Call newspaper, and this is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's one of his lectures that they transcribe. Is called The Wheel, the Great Mother Plane, Allah's God's Calling Card, right? This is from the minister. And the top portion right here says, and so Allah God, the Son of Man, shows up in a wheel, and he comes down from the wheel and he finds Elijah. Okay, so ever since the beginning of the Nation of Islam, we have always taught that Master Farrakhan Muhammad was the inventor and creator of that dreadful plane, which has 2 natures, right? Because Quetzalcoatl, according to the Aztecs, has a twin brother, right? He has a twin brother, and he represents the evening star or the destruction, right? So we know that the mother plane, all praises due to Allah. Shout out to Brother BBX, Brother Ben X. We know that the mother plane, according to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has 2 natures, right? It has the first nature has the nature to heal and give new life to the earth, and it also has the nature of destruction and destroying the wicked and removing them from the planet, right? So the second part says, according to Elijah Muhammad's earliest writings, he said, Master Farrakhan Muhammad came to us from the holy city of Mecca in Arabia. He pointed out to me a dreadful looking plane, a half a mile by a half a mile. It was made after the universe of spears, wheels within wheels. Although many had mocked and ridiculed this teaching, in America today, many are bearing witness to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right? So according to the Aztec prophecies and the order of Quetzalcoatl, right, this God has a divine connection to the heavens or the stars, and he has a connection to earth and humanity, right? And nobody was teaching what the Nation of Islam teaching. I don't care, who say that they was teaching that the black man was God first, because nobody teach certain elements within the core teachings that we have that was given to us by Master Fard Muhammad. Right? There are certain elements missing in these other teachings that people can't son Master Fard Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So when they try to kick that, and no disrespect to my Moors, because those my family, but when you try to kick that, that we came up out of that, well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to a woman in the interview that there was no one wise enough among the Moorish Science Temple to teach Master Fard Muhammad. And he denied ever being a part of the Moorish Science Temple. Right? Because there are certain elements that we teach that they just simply don't teach. Right? And this is one of them. So let's move along. So now, because your brother has 19 slides, right? And I use the number 19 on purpose, right? And I also have a bonus slide as well to where I'm going to cap off this PowerPoint presentation. But your brother has 19 slides, right? This portion is called the Saviour Gods of the Major World Religions, right? The Saviour Gods of major world religions. And I get to explaining, these different prophecies of these different gods and their relevance and their connection to Master Fard Muhammad. And the reason why I'm saying that is because all of these people that were prophesied, they are talking about the same person. They are just given different names or different titles, right? But they're talking about the same person. They're describing the same person. Every group of people, because I studied world religions, and I wouldn't consider myself a world-class scholar or nothing like that. But, I've done my research. And they're all pointing to one individual, right? So let's go to one of the religions. Let's go to Hinduism. Okay? Hinduism. According to the Hindus, they are waiting on two individuals, just depending on which one that you are taught about or you grew up learning about. One individual is called Kalki, right? This is the individual that's portrayed at the top. See, and this is for those who are accusing the Nation of Islam of worshiping a white man, worshiping a white god, right? But when you do honest, sincere research, you will learn that most of the major religions prophesied of a God who will come looking like a white man. He will be an original man, but he will look like a white man to throw off his enemies, right? To throw off the enemies, right? Of the oppressed, right? So Kalki is one of the Hindu figures, right? Who they believe will come looking like a white man, and he would be riding a white horse with wings, right? All praises due to Allah. He will come looking like a white horse. Not looking like a white horse, excuse me. He will come looking like a white man riding a white horse with wings, right? So Dr. Wesley Muhammad said in the lecture that when you're dealing with the certain Hindu gods, you have to respect the iconography of the gods. And they describe Rama as a gold-looking god, Vishnu black, Shiva white. And they said that the reason why Shiva rode a white bull is because it denotes the the hide of the calf or the bull denotes the skin of the god, right? It denotes the skin of the god. So if Vishnu was the black god, he will be riding on a black bull, right? And Shiva, the destroyer, is riding a white bull to denote his color or pigmentation, right? But with Kalki, this horse has wings. So the wings are symbolic of flight, right? Anything that has wings symbolizes flight, being able to fly. So they are describing a apocalyptic figure who will come down, right, on a white horse or a horse with wings, a flying vehicle, right? Same thing with Shiva, right? He will be riding a white bull. And also Shiva has the power to resurrect the dead. So you have a white god, a white looking god, excuse me, because he's original, man. You have a white looking god with the power to resurrect the dead, right? Let's get it. Let's go to Buddhism. Buddhism believes in the coming of the future Buddha, and his name is Maitreya, right? They believe in the future Buddha, also known as Maitreya, right? And he also has white skin, right? He's also a god, as you can see my image, he's a white looking god, also riding a white horse. And they say that he taught his sermons in Q&A or questions and answer formats. That's how he taught. And they also said that he teaches self-realization, right? But in the Nation of Islam, we call it knowledge of self, right? And they say that this is an individual who will bring to his people a new teaching of peace and love, right? And he will destroy the wicked world and its old teachings, right? According to Buddhists, right? They are waiting for the future Buddha. And I also heard in the lecture, I can't remember the brother's name, but it's called Africans in Asia. And he talks about the future Buddha, right? Who will be coming, and he believed that this future Buddha will be coming to black people, right? So let's move along. Okay, now the Egyptian science, right, in the book by Plutarch called Isis and Osiris, right? In his book, he says, according to Plutarch, in Isis and Osiris, that Typhon, right, was red in complexion. Typhon, according to Egyptians, was the devil, right? The white man, right? They said Typhon was red in complexion. They said Horus, white, and Osiris, dark, right? And I heard Dr. Wesley Muhammad say in his lecture, the reason why Osiris was depicted as dark because he was funerary in the dead state, right? But Plutarch described Horus or Heru as being white, right? So let's move along. In Islam, right, Imam Mahdi, according to Prophet Muhammad, would come from the prophet's progeny. And according to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said that Prophet Muhammad was white, right? But some people, some enemies against the Nation of Islam try to twist it and say, oh, well, if Prophet Muhammad was a white man, then that means he was a devil, right? But that's not what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teach. And they also try to twist it. Oh, well, Wallace died for it, because they try to disrespect us by calling Master Farrakhan Muhammad Wallace died for it. They try to say, well, since he a white man, then he must be a devil too. But that's not what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teach. Master Farrakhan Muhammad was half original because his father was an original man, was a black man, right? And his father is a descendant of the Banu Hashim, right? And they are descendants of the Quraysh tribe, which is the tribe of Prophet Muhammad, right? But Prophet Muhammad said that this man will come from his progeny, right? Will come from his family. And also, Prophet, the Master Farrakhan Muhammad's mother, Baby G, comes from Azerbaijan, and I think it's in Iran or close to Iran, where the community that she came from is full of Muslims. And these are white-looking Muslims. These aren't black Afro-Arabian Muslims. These are white Muslims in Azerbaijan, right? According to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Okay? Christianity, right? Jesus, the Son of Man, in Christianity was prophesied to travel from the east to the west to resurrect the dead people, right? So we teach in the Nation of Islam that Master Farrakhan Muhammad traveled 9,000 miles from the holy city of Mecca, right, to redeem and save what was lost, who was the so-called black man. But what does the Son of Man do? Because it says in the book of Matthew, as the lightning shineth from the east, even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Wheresoever the carcass is, the eagles are gathered together. So the Son of Man, when he gets to the west, he's going to see the remains of a dead people, right? He's going to see the remains of a once living people that will be put to mental and spiritual death, mental and spiritual death, right? And he comes to resurrect that people, right? But ironically, the enemy came looking like the one who was destined to come. And they tried to trick and deceive the whole world with this image up here, right? With Serapis, just as they tricked Emperor Montezuma II. What do I mean by they tricked Emperor Montezuma II, right? Because we know Black Jesus. We acknowledge the Black Jesus, right? But those are the other Jesuses that will come after the Son of Man, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the original people, right? But the enemy knew that this Christ figure was to come back looking like a white man, and they played upon that and they seized upon that, and I'll explain why. Right? And I'm going to put it in context using the Hopi people's prophecies. In the Hopi religion, right? They are expecting a Christ figure, right? By the name Pahana, right? They are waiting on a Christ figure by the name of Pahana. Pahana means that the true or lost white brother, the true white brother or the lost white brother, or the Holy One who came from across the water, right? So the Hopi believe that there will be a white-looking man who they consider a holy one, a holy man who will come across the water, right? And he travels from the east to the west and delivers a new teaching and a religion to his people, right? But they also believe, right? This is one of the Hopi's first signs, right? And I'm gonna show you how it relates to the Aztecs and relates to Christianity and the white European image of Jesus. Because one of their first signs, according to them, they said that there will be a people who will come looking like Pahana, the true white brother, the holy one who comes from across the water from the east to the west. There will be a people who will come looking like him, but they will not live like Pahana. They will be a cruel people to the original inhabitants of this land. So when Hernan Cortez, right, came among the Aztecs, they believed, right, that he was the coming of the great Christ figure, Quetzalcoatl. That's how he was able to infiltrate an empire with only 500 soldiers, okay, and abduct the Emperor Montezuma and behead him. Right? So this was a Hopi prophecy, right? That the white man would come looking like God in the person, and everybody will fall for it and believe that this white man is Quetzalcoatl or Pahana. And they said that these people will come looking like Pahana, but not living like Pahana, because they will be a cruel people. Right? This is why the natives don't like the white man. Right? And in Aztec and Mayan religion, Quetzalcoatl is a white-looking man who travels from the east to the west with a new teaching. And he comes back to resurrect the dead, and he flies around and is connected to a vehicle that flies. So when you look to my right, you can see a stele dedicated to the Mesoamerican god Quetzalcoatl, right? And in the middle, you can see a ruin to the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl, right? In the Mayan ruins, right? So they have them throughout Mesoamerica and Belize, Honduras, Mexico. You know, in that whole little area is the veneration of this white-looking god by the name of Quetzalcoatl, who will be coming to save and redeem his people. And also to my left, here's a comic book image, right, of the god who comes looking white by the name of Quetzalcoatl. This is a comic book image. So you got the ancient and the modern coming together, and they're putting this information out in comic books. And growing up as young men and women, you know, especially the young boys who didn't like comic books, but they're putting esoteric wisdom in comic books, right? But I want us to look at something. Now, here's another article that I found. I don't know who this one was specifically written by, but it says Quetzalcoatl is described as light-skinned, bearded, tall, serpent-headed god, right? We know Master Farrakhan Muhammad didn't wear no beard. He told us clean shave, right? But the beard could also be symbolic of a man of wisdom, right? And at a certain age, because Master Farrakhan Muhammad, when he revealed himself in 1930, he was 53 years old, you know, and he had completed his first human life cycle, because according to the Aztecs, that a human life cycle is 52 years. So his 53rd year was the beginning of his second life cycle, right? So Quetzalcoatl is described as light-skinned, bearded, tall, serpent-headed God. He is regarded as God who is associated with knowledge and learning. So when you look at the image of Master Fard Muhammad, he's holding up a holy Quran, right? And he's telling us, look in the book, study this book, right? And we have the student enrollments. Why? Because we are all students of Master Fard Muhammad. That's why we call him Master. But you got ignorant Negroes who say things like, oh, I ain't calling no white man master. Try to accuse us of being slaves, but really don't understand what the term master is and what a master is in general. That's why I mentioned Paramahansa Yogananda. When I was studying the Hindu religion and I was studying what Paramahansa Yogananda was teaching, what he was teaching was the relationship between a teacher and a student, a master and a disciple, right? What is a disciple? Somebody is disciplining in a certain field or area of expertise, right? And he teaches the disciple and he teaches the student to revere your teachers, right? Or your masters, because God is coming in the person of them to raise you up into godhood, right? But you have ignorant Negroes who say, well, I ain't calling no white man master. I mean, you sound foolish because you don't really understand divine protocol. That's why we have a divine protocol in the Nation of Islam, because we got Master Fard Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And after that, it's divine protocol. It's respect. It's reverence. It's not out of slave mentality. Master Fard Muhammad came to break up the slave mentality, right? But let me continue. He is regarded as God who is associated with knowledge and learning. He is also regarded as God of wind, maybe because of the speed of his craft, which can move just like a whirlwind. Come on. Somebody talk black to me. It says he is also regarded as God of wind, maybe because of the speed of his craft, which can move just like a whirlwind, right? So ain't nobody teaching this peculiar teaching that Master Fard Muhammad gave to his student, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, about spacecrafts, about the beings on Mars, about the presence of a planet called Pluto, right? Nobody, oh yeah, and also about a second sun, right? Nobody has made as many connections to the heavens than Master Fard Muhammad. No black teacher or politician, preacher, or minister has came with this peculiar teaching talking about wheels within wheels and spacecrafts or UFOs or IFOs. Brother Nuri calls it identified flying objects. Why? Because we know who are on these ships, right? But let me continue. It says, in the period of the so-called fifth sun, right? Because this man is, Quetzalcoatl, is prophesied to come at the beginning of this fifth sun or this new cycle, right? It is believed that Quetzalcoatl went into the underworld or the underground laboratory to conduct his experiments. He is regarded as the creator of a new mankind from the bones of the earlier remains of human beings, and he then sprayed or injected his own blood to his creation in order to put life in it. Listen, it says he is regarded as the creator of a new mankind. So we know that this Christ figure, according to the scriptures, that would be a figure who will come to create a new heaven and a new earth. Walaikum salam, brother in the east, who comes to create a new heaven and a new earth and a new people. And that's the purpose, according to Masons, of the grand architect or the great architect, that this God who will come into person to resurrect, right, a dead people, comes to resurrect Hiram Abiff, right? And upon this people, he will create a brand new world. But the Shriner, the definition of a Shriner is one who sits and guards the shrine of a dead prophet or a dead great person that is dead, right? According to the mystics of the noble shrine, right? This is what their duty. And if that dead person tries to wake up, they hit him across the head, put him back to sleep. See, they don't want us having this knowledge. So what they're doing is they're interfering with the work of Imam Mahdi or the grand architect or Quetzalcoatl or Jesus. They're trying to interfere with his work. And that's why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told them that they are under a new sword and they have to assist and help us. Right? All praises is due to Allah. Right? But look, this is what it says, right? It says, he is regarded as a creator of a new mankind from the bones of the earlier remains of human beings, and he then sprayed or injected his own blood into his creation in order to put it to life or bring it to life. Mayan paintings and sculptures indicated anything that transpired during that period, and some of the structures look like spaceships of the 21st century. Characters or gods found in sculptures wore something similar to spacesuits. There were images of a being showing similarity to what astronauts look like in modern times. Right? So they are prophesying about this God who would be in command of a flying vehicle. Right? Now, this portion is titled Quetzalcoatl Rescues Humanity in the Land of the Dead. Family. Now, this is what your brother found. A lot of this I stumbled across because I knew some of this, but I just got to admit, I stumbled across a lot of good information. So you all got to hear this story. Right? You all got to hear this story. Quetzalcoatl rescues humanity in the land of the dead. Your brother's about to read it to you. Share my screen with you all. And then I go back to the presentation. How's everybody doing? Everybody all right? Before we move along, y'all got any questions? Because your brother's been going. Before we move along, let me know if you got any questions. Because this is getting deep. Let your brother know before I get started on this portion. Okay, I don't see anything, so that might be a good thing. Okay. Quetzalcoatl rescues humanity in the land of the dead. So, just as the scripture stated that this Son of Man will be traveling from the east to the west, right? And in the west, he would see a dead carcass, right? He will see a dead carcass. So let's hear what this Aztec prophecy says about it. in this, and look at the symbolism. It says part of the Mesoamerican, Mexica, or Aztec myth of the origin of people, where Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent, descends into the land of the dead, Mictlan, to rescue the bones of humanity and bring them back to life. Right? And bring them back to life. Because some people think we crazy on what we teaching. But we got brothers and sisters who are over here in the Western Hemisphere been teaching this. Right? So it says, Quetzalcoatl's descent to Mictlan, the land of the dead. Mictlan is the underworld of the Nahua people, also known as the Aztec and sometimes as the Mexican tribe, ruled over by its lord and lady, right? It's a gloomy place, reached by the dead only after wandering for 4 years beneath the earth, right? But we're going to add 2 zeros on that and put 400 years, right? Accompanied by a soul companion, a dog, which was customarily cremated with the corpse. Aztec myth tells how the deity Quetzalcoatl, who in the Nahuatl language means feathered serpent, journeyed to Mictlan at the dawning of the 5th sun. Pardon me. The present world era. So the 5th sun represents this present world. Okay, this cycle that we are currently in. Right, this present world, not no past world, not no future world. It says this present world, right? It says journey to Mictlan at the dawning of the 5th sun, the present world era, in order to restore humankind to life from the bones of those who had lived in previous eras. So who are the most ancient people on the planet who lived in previous eras and previous cycles that was eventually put to death, right? There's no people throughout the annals of history have been through what Black people have gone through in the hills and wilderness of North America, in the valley of the shadow of death. Nobody has gone through what we've gone through, right? So who are these humans that Quetzalcoatl had to restore them back to life who lived in previous eras, right? It says, for bones are like seeds. Everything that dies goes into the earth, and from it new life is born in the sacred cycle of existence. Quetzalcoatl and his spirit twin, I told you he was born up with a twin, and they both was born of a virgin woman, right? Quetzalcoatl and his spirit twin, Xolotl, the god with the serious face of a greyhound, said, I am Xolotl, the evening star. Every night I lead the sun down to Mictlan to die. I know the way to the land of the dead and will guide us there, right? So from my understanding, it's talking about periods, right? So we are going from one age, from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. But during the age of Pisces, right, we were put to death in the age of Pisces, but now as the age of Aquarius has come in, we are being brought back to life. Now listen to the symbology. I am Xolotl, the evening star. Every night I lead the sun down to Mictlan to die. I know the way to the land of the dead and will guide us there. Quetzalcoatl, his wise old face wreathed with the beard of brilliant feathers, said, I am Quetzalcoatl, the morning star. Every morning, meaning the beginning of a new era, a new age, right? I am Quetzalcoatl, the morning star. Every morning, I lead the sun back out of Michelin to be reborn with the dawn. I know the way out of the land of the dead and will guide us back home to the sweet paradise to Moachan. Right? And so when we because when you dealing with ages and cycles, right? Because you got the gold age, the silver age, the bronze age, and the iron age. We are leaving the iron age, going back into a golden age. But when we are in the ages, or when the sun is furthest away from the Sirius constellation, we go into a spiritual decline, right? We go into spiritual death. But when our solar system is closest to the Sirius solar system, we go into spiritual enlightenment, right? That's when we are at our best, our greatest, right? So it's talking about cycles, right? And errors, right? Listen to the symbology. And at the beginning of this new era or new cycle, there will be one, right, who is universally known by all peoples around the earth, who will elevate us mentally and spiritually, right? This is what this is about. So let me continue reading. It says, I lead the sun back out of Michelin to be reborn with the dawn. I know the way out of the land of the dead and will guide us back home to the sweet paradise to Moachan. Zolotl led the way down to Michelin and through the 9 layers of the realm of death. They retraced the path that the sun took every night down into the depths of the underworld, all the way to the palace of the Lord of the dead. Right? The Lord of the dead. I'm going to say that this is symbolic of America. Right? They are the lords of the dead right now. It says, we must be careful. Quetzalcoatl said, I know Lord Quetzalcoatl will not be pleased by our requests. He is a wily God and may try to trap us. Right? He's a trickster God. He's very crafty. Quetzalcoatl is very crafty God, right? It says, Zolotl agreed, and they cautiously proceeded to the throne of the Lord and Lady of the Dead. He and his wife. Quetzalcoatl has a wife as well. Right? It's talking about a people or a man and a woman, right? It says, Quetzalcoatl approached the Lord of Michelin, who sat on his throne surrounded by spiders and owls, as well as the bones of humans. Pause. He sat on his throne surrounded by spiders and owls. So we know in the Nation of Islam, whenever you mention animals and creatures, it's referring to the nature of certain people, certain human beings, right? It's not talking about literal spiders and owls, right? And it says, as well as the bones of humans piled up like a treasure, right? The bones of humans piled up like a treasure, right? So this Lord of the dead and his lady, right, are sitting on their throne in the land of the dead, right? And they have a pile or a group grouped up, a people grouped up together, right? A dead people. And it says, I've come for the bones, the precious bones, the jade bones, said Quetzalcoatl. Can I have them in order to populate the earth? Quetzalcoatl frowned, and the chill in the air deepened. And he said, quote, and how do I benefit from this? No, I don't think I'll give up my splendid bones. Right? What does Moses say to Pharaoh? Right? To let my people go. But what did Pharaoh do? Pharaoh refused to let Allah's people go, right? And it says, if I give them to you, I'll never get them back and I'll be poorer for it. right? So it's something about this dead people that is making the Lord of the land of the dead rich, right? Because he said, I'll never get them back and I'll be poor for it. So it's something about these bones, right? Because also in the book of Ezekiel, it talks about the bones in the valley of bones, right? And it says that he will be poor for it if he lose these bones, right? And he says, no, you can't have my bones. Quetzalcoatl had anticipated this and said, oh no, you misunderstand me. We don't intend to keep the bones. We just want to borrow them. The humans would be mortal and would eventually return to you. Just like how everything else is born and eventually dies, even the sun itself. Only we, Titeo, live forever, meaning the gods. You wouldn't really lose anything in the end, and in the meantime, your fame will grow. Lady Quetzalcoatl looked pleased by these words. Lord Quetzalcoatl considered them, then spoke, an interesting idea. All right, you can have the bones. Zelotl began to move towards the bones. Quote, if continued Quetzalcoatl and Zelotl froze. If you can play my conch shell, trumpet, and circle my kingdom 4 times in honor of me, he handed Quetzalcoatl a conch shell that with no finger holes did not look like any kind of instrument that left the chamber. So he tried to trick Quetzalcoatl and say, play a song for me around my kingdom, but there was no way to actually play it because it had no holes in it to play it, right? So Zelotl looked at the trumpet in dismay. The conch shell couldn't make a sound. He's trying to trick us, Zelotl said. I've got a plan, said Quetzalcoatl. And he called the worms and other gnawing insects and ordered them to chew holes into the conch shell. Then he took the shell and held it up and summoned these bees to climb inside through the holes and buzz loudly. The sound echoed through the shadowy realm like a trumpet blast, right? Guess what we got on the Final Call newspaper? A trumpet, right? Who is symbolic of that trumpet today? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right? All praises due to Allah. So Quetzalcoatl hit a scowl, and Quetzalcoatl and Zelotl marched proudly back into the throne room and said, we've done what you asked, Lord of the dead. Now give us the bones as you agreed. He said, very well then, said Quetzalcoatl, calmed again. You can have them for now, but the humans will not be immortal. They must die again someday and return to me, just as you had said earlier. The morning and evening star agreed, gathered up the bones, and left. Lady Quetzalcoatl looked horrified. Our treasure, we can't let them carry it off. And he said, of course we won't. I may have said they could have the bones. I never said they could leave my kingdom with them. And then he ordered some of his servants to dig a pit along the path that the 2 guys must take to escape and others to chase after them. So I'm showing y'all how the enemy will create all types of tricks and schemes, right? Because he is a wily God, right? And he would do anything to not let us go. Why? Because we are making him richer. We are making him wealthy, right? And it says, meanwhile, Quetzalcoatl knew that he'd better move quickly to take the bones and leave. Quetzalcoatl thought of a trick. He said, tell the Lord I'll leave the bones behind. He said to his spirit twin Zelotl. Accordingly, Zelotl assured the Lord of Michland that the bones would be left. Meanwhile, Quetzalcoatl began to run. Unfortunately, he fell into the pit of the Lord of Michland, had ordered, and Dove had been startled by a covey of quail, or a bird. Quetzalcoatl was startled by a bird and fell into a pit. Those bones that weren't already shattered were pecked by the quail, which is why humans come in all sizes. This has not worked out well, said Quetzalcoatl to his spirit twin. What must be, replied the Nahul. And so Quetzalcoatl scooped up the bones and, once safely beyond the dead land, ground them up in a bowl, together with the old goddess Kulkulkan, woman serpent, and other gods. They sprinkled them with their blood, restoring them to life, and thus humankind was born from the penance of the gods themselves. Right? So let me go back to my presentation. Right? So your brother read that story, that long story. Please forgive me and thank you for being patient. Because why is this white-looking God prophesied to not only come and bring a new teaching, and he's going to have a connection between the heavens and the earth, but he also comes to resurrect a dead people in the land called the land of the dead, right? And he's battling against the Lord of the dead, right? And in the Nation of Islam, we teach that the white man is the creator and maker of niggas and devils, right? Niggas and devils, right? So I'm showing you all the correlations of these prophetic utterances in real times, in connection and in relation to real-time teachings of the Nation of Islam, that we are not only preaching about, but we are actually living it. We are actually fulfilling it. Because did not Jesus say to the Pharisees that I did not come to change the laws of the prophets, but I came to fulfill the law, right? He came to fulfill the prophecies, right? So this degree within the supreme wisdom states is the Q&A, because the supreme wisdom is heavy with questions and answers, just as the Buddhists believe that the future Buddha, the Maitreya, when he gives his sermons, he gives them in Q&A form. And the question is asked in supreme wisdom, right? In the student enrollment, what's the population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America and all over the planet Earth? Answer: the population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America is 17 million. With the 2 million Indians makes it 19 million. All over the planet Earth, 4,400,000,000. All praises due to Allah. So our brothers and sisters who are over here in the Western Hemisphere, right, had the prophecies of a holy man who would come from the east to the west, right? And he will resurrect the dead people. See, they were in a coma. They was half asleep. We was all the way dead. We had no knowledge of this. They had some of the knowledge. So we believe that, I don't want to rush it. I don't want to skip everything. That Master Fard Muhammad not only came for us, and let me read. It says, Master Fard Muhammad taught us that our brothers and sisters traveled here 16,000 years ago, which is divine revelation to all of us, right? And I say divine revelation is because where did he get this information, right? That he taught us, right? there were prophets among their people, meaning the brothers, the original people over here in the Western Hemisphere, right? There were prophets among their people, white feather of the Hopi and Chilam Balam, the jaguar priest among the Aztec. He's the one that gave the prophecies of Quetzalcoatl, right? And who prophesied the coming of this man long before his arrival on July 4th, 1930, right? For the Holy Quran says there are prophets who you know about and some you don't know about, right? So there were prophets among the original brothers and sisters over here in the Western Hemisphere, right? That is not considered major prophets, a big name prophets that we would think that's in the scripture, but these are huge figures according to the original brothers and sisters, the Native Americans, you know, the Indian brothers and sisters over here in the hills and wilderness of North America, right? So you got prophets in the East and in the West, right? And all of these people prophesied of the same person, right? But under different names and different titles, right? So, but let me continue. Master Farrakhan Muhammad not only came to resurrect black people, but all of the original families of the planet Earth, right? His mission just begins with the black man and those who the lessons call the Indians, because our destinies intertwine, right? Our destinies intertwine with one another. And that's why I mentioned in the very beginning of this presentation that there was a Mexican brother by the name of Juan Muhammad who brought me, a black man, to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and said that the black man was God. Mother Tanetta Muhammad used to live in Mexico, right? And we had mosque in Mexico, and we had mosque in the 60s and 70s in East LA, East Los Angeles. And brother Ali Rashid, one of the FOI in Los Angeles, his father was the minister over the mosque or study group. It was one of them in East LA. So the brothers and sisters have of our original family has deep roots within the Nation of Islam, right? So I have 19 slides, right, of that presentation, and I conclude my presentation with this bonus slide. So I have the 19 slides, but I'm going to conclude this bonus slide, right? But the 19 was dedicated to the 19 that Master Farrakhan Muhammad spoke about in the wilderness of North America, right? And Mother Tanetta Muhammad said the number 19 is Allah's fingerprint, right? It's his signature, right? So there are people who battle, right, with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and they say that Master Farrakhan Muhammad never taught that he was Allah or God in a person. At the most is what he taught is that he was a prophet. But just as I highlighted the Muslim Shriners, you know, the Masons and all these cats, their job was to suppress that information and kill the awaited God in the person, or Christ, or Quetzalcoatl, Pahana, Heru, you know, Maitreya, Kalki, Shiva, right? Their job and duty was to suppress that information and kill him, right? So, and that's why that their secrets were clandestine. They were hidden. They didn't want the people to know the truth. And even when you pay for a certain amount of degrees and you get high up in the hierarchy of their secret society, right? You still wouldn't get the whole truth, you know? So you just be sitting up in there and really don't know nothing. And only the real truth is hidden among a very small percentage of them, called the 10%, right? So it was important that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad hide the true identity of Master Fard Muhammad, for it was Master Fard Muhammad who told his followers to hear Kareem. Kareem was another name of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That was the name that was given him by Master Fard Muhammad at the time. And he told them to hear Kareem because it was something that Kareem, or the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, knew about Master Fard Muhammad that the rest of the believing body did not know, right? But Master Fard Muhammad told the authorities who he was. And that's why I got this bonus slide up, right? And as you can see, this is a picture of Master Fard Muhammad talking to Detroit detectives, right? And this is in the Detroit Free Press on November 24th, 1932, right? And it reads, Fard is shown discussing Islam to detectives, Barry and Snyder, after confessing to them that he is the supreme being on earth. So this is to the people who said that Master Fard Muhammad has never taught that he was a lying person, right? But here it is in the newspaper that Master Fard Muhammad is confessing to two detectives, Detroit detectives, that he is the supreme being on earth. The caption reads, "Here's my authority. Wallace Farad, head of the Order of Islam, explains from his Bible to detectives the workings of his cult. It was an offshoot of the Order of Islam which led Robert Harris, Negro, to slay James Smith in a cult riot. Police charge. Farad is held." In the Detroit Free Press, 1924, November 24th, 1932. And we also have it in this book right here called the Book of, not the Book of God, Master Fard Muhammad, Who Is He, Who Is He Not, where Master Fard Muhammad also said the same thing to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist concluded that he was not mentally insane, right? He was very sane, and told him that he was the supreme being on earth. So there are people who is saying that Master Fard Muhammad never taught this, but he actually, in fact, did teach the Honorable Elijah Muhammad this. Well, in truth, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad kind of figured out who his identity was, because when you read Our Savior Has Arrived, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad specifically said that Master Fard Muhammad would have killed us all if the messenger never recognized that he was Allah God in person, right? Because the scientists, the 24 scientists, wanted to just get rid of us. But Master Fard Muhammad was so merciful that he will come and save us himself. All praises is due to Allah. All praises due to Allah. So Master Fard Muhammad, in fact, did teach this to two Detroit detectives and a psychiatrist. He knew who he was and what his mission was to do. Okay? So I'm going to exit out of there. All praises due to Allah, family. So yeah, we going to end it with that with that. This is your brother Malcolm Flex TV. We've been on for long enough, and I thank you all for tuning in. Just please like, subscribe if you never subscribed to my channel, and share this video, man. Share this video, man. At this point, we don't even care how y'all feel about Master Fard Muhammad, because we know the truth about who he is and what he came to do. And we are not the only ones who believe that it will be a figure in the last days to redeem and resurrect humanity, right? Starting with a dead people over here in the Western Hemisphere, right? We're not the only ones to believe that. For those who want to accuse us of being pseudo, and those who want to accuse us of being liars and religious fanatics, right? So this is your brother, Malcolm Flex TV. Peace and assalamu alaikum.